A disturbing new wave of financial predators has emerged across China, deploying what's known in fraud circles as pig butchering scams, a particularly cruel form of romance fraud that's devastating lives. These professional con artists specifically prey on single women over 35 who feel societal pressure to marry, along with those displaying materialistic tendencies. The scammers operate with chilling efficiency, often extracting both money and sexual favors from their victims, their financial scythe cutting deeper and faster than any street robbery. By the time victims realize they've been duped, they're typically left with no recourse. Law enforcement struggles to track down these professional fraud rings, and civil lawsuits become exercises in futility against shell companies and fake identities. It's the ultimate financial and emotional trap. Victims' only hope is to cut their losses immediately and sound the alarm among their social circles. While these schemes aren't new, authorities report an alarming spike in cases as Lunar New Year approaches, a time when financial pressures mount and people become more vulnerable to too-good-to-be-true solutions. The playbook follows a disturbingly predictable pattern. It begins with what appears to be a fairy tale romance. The scammer, usually an attractive younger man, deploys textbook love-bombing techniques, round-the-clock attention, extravagant gifts, and manufactured intimacy. He'll remember her menstrual cycle, bringing ginger tea, play the perfect gentleman with door-to-door chauffeur service, and manufacture shared interests to create false compatibility. Within weeks, sometimes days, comes the marriage proposal accompanied by financial promises designed to short-circuit rational thinking. Let me handle the down payment. I'll take care of the mortgage payments. The property will be solely in your name. To the victim, it feels like winning the romantic lottery, finally meeting a successful, generous partner after years of searching. The fantasy collapses the moment the paperwork is signed. Once the property purchase is finalized and mortgage secured, the perfect boyfriend stages a dramatic breakup and disappears into thin air, phone numbers disconnected, social media accounts deleted, WeChat blocked. What remains is far worse than a broken heart, a crushing 30-year mortgage on a property that's often impossible to sell. Here's the cruel twist. While the scammer vanishes, the debt remains legally tied to the property's owner, the victim. These women aren't just left emotionally devastated, they're financially crippled, burdened with mortgage payments on properties frequently purchased at inflated prices through the scammer's corrupt networks. Failure to pay destroys their credit scores, creating lifelong financial consequences. The most insidious aspect is the psychological damage. Victims often blame themselves, obsessing over what they might have done to ruin the relationship. Many hold out hope their boyfriend will return, unaware the entire relationship was orchestrated by criminal networks who likely share victim profiles and tactics on dark web forums. In truth, these charming suitors are often low-level operatives in elaborate fraud rings, some working directly for corrupt real estate agencies, looking to offload undesirable properties. Every sweet nothing whispered, every romantic gesture, every future promise was carefully scripted to manipulate. The only real thing in these relationships? The devastating financial consequences left in their wake. This isn't just a women's issue. While the current wave primarily targets single women, fraudsters constantly adapt their tactics. The same schemes could easily be reversed, with female scammers targeting desperate single men. The common denominator isn't gender, it's vulnerability. As we approach the holiday season, experts urge extra caution with new romantic connections that quickly turn financial. If an attractive new partner starts talking property investments or financial opportunities within weeks of meeting, consider it a massive red flag. Remember, real relationships are built over time, not financial transactions.
Let me tell you about a heartbreaking case that perfectly illustrates how devastating these so-called pig butchering scams can be. This happened to an acquaintance of mine, a sharp, accomplished woman who never imagined she'd become prey to such calculated deception. Our victim, let's call her Lisa, was a 38-year-old executive pulling in $500 to $600K annually with a fully owned 5M Shanghai apartment. The picture of modern professional success. Through a dating app, she met Jason, a dashing 33-year-old who checked every box. Sharp dresser, luxury car, effortless charm, and an impressive backstory as a tech VP pulling down $2 million in salary and stock options. The courtship was straight out of a romance novel. Morning coffee deliveries, surprise flower bouquets, the works. For Lisa, who'd nearly given up on finding love, it felt like fate. Then came the fateful twist. Jason accidentally discovered a flaw in a sports betting platform that guaranteed 10% returns. Like most educated professionals, Lisa initially scoffed at the idea. But watching Jason turn 50K into 55K during their dates, followed by lavish gifts funded by these winnings, wore down her skepticism. She tested the waters with small amounts that yielded instant 30% returns, all fully withdrawable. What followed was textbook psychological manipulation. After several successful withdrawals, Lisa liquidated her entire 2M investment portfolio. That was the hook. But when she tried cashing out her $2.2 million balance, the platform demanded a 30% risk deposit. That was the trap. Desperate, she borrowed additional funds, only for the scammer to perform his masterstroke. The real psychological warfare began when Jason mortgaged his home to loan her 1M, miraculously unlocking all funds. Overwhelmed by this apparent sacrifice, Lisa remortgaged her own apartment for one last big score before their planned retirement. The ending was inevitable. The platform disappeared, Jason vanished, and Lisa's life savings evaporated. This case exemplifies the three-phase slaughter. First comes the sty building, crafting an irresistible persona like this tech executive facade. Then the pig fattening, emotional conditioning through extravagant care and attention. Finally, the slaughtering, the financial kill with carefully staged recoverable losses. As recent cases show, these scams prey on universal vulnerabilities. Even savvy professionals can fall victim when scammers exploit the human need for connection, especially among successful singles who've waited years for the right partner. They manipulate cognitive biases like the sunk cost fallacy, the idea that after investing so much, you can't walk away empty-handed. And they weaponize the psychological impact of apparent generosity, making victims feel obligated to return favors. The bitter truth? These operations have become industrialized, with some generating more revenue than drug cartels. As we enter 2025, remember this. Any new romantic interest pushing investments, no matter how convincing, should trigger immediate skepticism. That perfect partner, showering you with affection, might just be fattening you for slaughter. So I beg you, when love and money mix, pause. Breathe. Ask hard questions. Because in today's world, the greatest threat to your life savings might not come from market crashes or bad investments, but from someone who knows exactly how to make your heart override your common sense.
Let me share something heartbreaking that keeps happening to the most capable women I know. These are women who built multimillion-dollar businesses from scratch, women who can out-negotiate seasoned investors before breakfast. Yet in their 40s, they're losing everything to romance scams. It's not that they're naive. It's that after decades of being the strong one, their emotional needs become their greatest vulnerability. Take my friend Sarah, a beauty industry titan who started doing facials in her mother's kitchen at 16. By 35, she'd built a luxury skincare empire across the region. Then came the divorce, and like so many successful women, she buried herself in work. By 42, she'd amassed nearly $3 million in assets, and that's when Michael appeared. He wasn't just charming, he was strategic. When Sarah mentioned working late, he'd show up with her favorite tea. After a stressful investor meeting, flowers arrived with handwritten notes. For a woman accustomed to being everyone's rock, this targeted affection was intoxicating. The request started small, a temporary cash flow issue at his firm needing 200,000 yuan. Then came the exclusive investment opportunities. Over 3 years, Sarah liquidated assets, took loans, and eventually drained her entire fortune. When we friends intervened, she couldn't walk away. To her, withdrawing support would mean she was just another woman who abandoned him when things got tough. The aftermath was devastating. When Michael disappeared with the money, Sarah's sharp business mind seemed to vanish with him. The CEO who once expanded into new markets without blinking stopped returning investor calls. Her flagship locations began failing. It took 5 years of therapy before she could say the word trust without flinching. We've all heard variations of this story. The Hangzhou cosmetics executive who mortgaged her factory for a man claiming to be special forces. The Jiangxi Tech CEO who lost $2 million to a fake crypto platform. The Shanghai restaurateur drained by a wine importer with endless customs emergencies. What makes these brilliant women targets? First, their business success becomes a blind spot. They assume financial savvy protects them from emotional manipulation. Second, societal whispers about their biological clocks make them desperate to believe in love. And third, many secretly crave the chance to be the rescued rather than the rescuer after decades of carrying everyone else. Financial experts now advise simple safeguards. Implement a 3-day cooling period before helping any romantic partner financially. Ask yourself, would I feel comfortable explaining this decision to my mother? And always get repayment terms in writing. As Sarah told me during her recovery, I didn't lose my money because I was stupid. I lost it because for the first time in 20 years, someone made me feel like more than just a bank account. That's the real tragedy here. These scams don't just steal wealth. They exploit the very human need for connection that these women postponed while building their empires. The painful truth? No spreadsheet can protect you when someone finally speaks to the lonely young woman still hiding inside every self-made millionaire. Sometimes the riskiest investments aren't in startups or stocks. They're in the people who know exactly which emotional wounds to touch. So, to every successful woman listening, your strength got you this far. But when it comes to matters of the heart, remember, even the wisest among us need safeguards. Because the price of letting your guard down shouldn't be everything you've spent your life building.
It's a question that keeps coming up. Why do so many capable professional women become victims of financial scams? The uncomfortable truth is that every successful con game follows the same psychological blueprint. It's either selling a dream or exploiting a fear. Scammers are master illusionists. Some dangle the carrot, painting visions of wealth, love, or success just within reach if you'll only make that first small investment. Others wield the stick, sudden emergencies, about your bank account being compromised that demand immediate action. The playbook hasn't changed much because human nature hasn't changed. Here's what most people misunderstand. Scammers aren't geniuses. Their scripts are often laughably transparent when examined coldly. Their real skill lies in target selection. The desperate older women are easy targets for them. The antidote is straightforward but challenging. Maintain healthy skepticism. If an offer seems too good to be true, it is. No legitimate business pressures you to act immediately, and your bank will never call demanding your password to secure your account. So why do successful, independent women in their 30s and 40s frequently appear in scam statistics? The answer lies in the collision of societal expectations and personal psychology. Many have spent years building careers while putting romance on hold, only to face increasing pressure about their biological clock. When a charming, financially secure man appears, the kind who remembers her coffee order and texts goodnight, it's easy to overlook red flags. What makes these cases particularly heartbreaking is the internal struggle victims describe. There's often a moment of clarity. This might be a scam, quickly drowned out by, but what if he's real? The fear of losing what feels like their last chance at love overpowers logic. As one victim told me, I knew the risks, but I was more afraid of being alone forever than of losing money. The cruel genius of these scams lies in their timing. The request for money always comes after weeks or months of emotional investment, when the victim has already rewritten her life story to include this new partner. By then, saying no feels like betraying the relationship. At its core, scam vulnerability isn't about intelligence or education. It's about the universal human need for connection and security. The most effective cons don't hack your bank account. They hack your deepest hopes and fears. Recognizing this is the first step toward protection, understanding that the best defense isn't just skepticism, but self-awareness about our emotional blind spots. Because in the end, the most dangerous scams aren't the ones that fool our minds, but the ones that speak to our hearts.